All right, hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. So yeah, today, as the title says, we're going to be just working on some more card mechanics here. I'm still trying to fix this issue where, well, I'll get into all that in just a second, but before I do, I'd like to remind everyone that Gunforged is available for sale. So if you want to support my work, please consider purchasing that. Give it a look, and if you end up playing it, leave a review. That would be much appreciated. I also have Udemy courses available for sale. So there's a C# and a GD script one. Those are linked in the description below as well. They will teach you how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. So what we're going to be doing today is working on some of the card mechanics here. There's one thing that I'm currently working on, which is I implemented this new Corvid card type. And the Corvid card is supposed to echo, in other words, repeat its execution if there's another Corvid on the board. And the problem with this is that, well, there's a number of problems with it. The main problem being that I have no way of really tracking the echo execution for a number of reasons. And that was preventing this check, this execution count, from running. So I'm still having problems with this, but I'll kind of get into all that in just a second. But first, hello, OC Richie. How are you doing? Let's fix this. Is that better? Good morning to you as well. You have to excuse me if I'm a little slow this morning. I've got a little bit of a headache, but we're going to power through it and see what happens. So yeah, so anyway, so I have this conditional echo. Well, so basically the problem is I don't want the echo to execute more than once on a single turn. And the problem is that this was never working. This execution count doesn't even work either because this tracks total executions rather than turn execution. So I've been working with the AI here to help me fix some of that. The solution that the AI ended up coming up with was this conditional ability decorator, which is pretty interesting. Basically, this just implements a should execute that executes this condition. Condition is a function that's passed in here as part of the conditional ability decorator. And then you can see in the conditional echo here, we've got the conditional ability decorator. It decorates the echo ability. It provides a value here from the query count provider. And then the condition is that the count of the result of the query is greater than 0. So it's just looking for cards of type Corvid. If that count is greater than 0, then it will execute this echo ability. I actually don't need this anymore, I don't think. So, should execute is what will be called in base card here. I'll just go to base card. So if the parent ability is a decorator and not decorator should execute, we're going to continue. So that's going to prevent any decorated, conditionally decorated ability from executing if it shouldn't execute. Now the problem here is that, let me think. Right, so the whole point of this decorator is that it can now implement iComposite ability. And the reason why that's important is because when the base card gets all of the abilities, it collects them all recursively, which checks for composite abilities. So previously, in the previous solution I had, the echo was not being returned or placed into this list of all abilities, and so it was never being directly executed, which means that I don't have any way of, like in the base card, resetting any sort of turn state or anything. So that was the big issue, and also the increment execution count wasn't working. So what I think I should do now is, so there's a couple of problems here still. this check is wrong because this is the total number of executions when I want this to just be how many times has it executed this turn. So we don't want echo to execute multiple times per turn because that would be, well, that would be bad. So I think what I need to do is we've got this conditional echo. Yeah. What I need to do is so basically I need like a private bool has executed this turn. Okay, and now we need a way of resetting this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a new interface, maybe. Transient turn state. Yeah, we'll do reset transient state here. And then in echo, I can do transient turn state. And then in here, reset transient state has executed this turn equals false. So this is just a way of basically marking something that has some transient state that needs to be reset. And so now the question is, where do I put that? Do I want to put it in here? Let me think. I actually don't think I want this to be, yeah, so here, maybe what I'll do is I'll say public void reset all transient states. Variability and getAbilities.of type iTransient turn state. Ability.reset transient state. So then, probably in the turn manager, let me see where this is used. This reset all ability execution counts. Okay, so this is being done in the card stats. Gotcha, okay. So I can't do that reset in the turn manager because I don't have knowledge of what cards are on the board. So I think the post cooldown tick here, post cooldown tick, reset cooldown if executed, card.reset all transient states. Let's just do that. I think that will be fine. So this post cooldown tick. Wait, is that right? This should probably be called something like post turn tick. But I think it's fine for now. So basically we're going to reset all those transient states after that. Okay, so I think that should be fine. So now this is going to become just something that's enabled for the duration of the turn that then gets disabled in preparation for the next time it executes. So let's see what happens. The problem here is that I think the board is set to 8 health. Board. Yeah, 8. So I should actually kill the board in one turn if I place both of these Corvids here. Nope, didn't work. Or did it work? No, it didn't. Why is this not working? Nothing I do with this card works. It's not echoing at all. It's not echoing at all. Okay. Oh, this is wrong. That's why. If has executed this turn. Simple. Okay. So now it should execute. It should all die on one turn here. We should see that this top one should execute twice. Boom. 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 Okay. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So that is working. So now let's try and make sure that it works if it goes to the next turn. So that will test if the transient state is being properly reset here. So in 2 turns, it should kill the enemy board. Perfect. All right. That seems to be working. So now there's one extra problem here, which I want to figure out, which is that the conditional ability decorator introduced the sort of parent ability thing, which makes sense. So if I have a composite ability, as in here, that means that there's sub-abilities to this ability, abilities that are somewhat controlled by this ability. And the problem is I have no way of knowing which ability owns the sub-ability, basically. So this decorated ability here becomes a sub-ability of this composite ability, but it has no way of knowing sort of out of the box that it is owned by the conditional ability decorator. And so it introduced this parent ability here, which is fine, but the problem is that that's not implemented across all of the I composite abilities. So that parent ability is only going to be present in this very narrow situation, which I don't like. I would rather that parent ability relationship be established immediately. So let's ask the AI about this. So let's see what the AI decides to do about it. If I go to my conditional ability decorator, okay, so here, ideally, the parent ability should be established for all abilities automatically. So the parent ability relationship should be established. I think this would be best served. This need would be best addressed with a dictionary or similar data structure in the base card itself, so that abilities remain agnostic as to their relationships. I don't think there's... So the way... I don't want to get into a situation where the abilities themselves know about the relationships, which is what kind of makes me uneasy with this conditional ability decorator. I don't want this to happen. There shouldn't be a need for abilities to really know their relationships. I mean, I guess the I composite ability kind of naturally knows what abilities are sub-abilities, but I don't want to introduce this situation where like the abilities are like stateful in terms of they know like what their position is in the card, what abilities they relate to. I don't think that should be the case. I think abilities should be basically just like very simple, modular sort of containers of execution. And then any relationship data between the abilities needs to be managed at the card level. And that's kind of already what I'm doing here. So the card is managing the execution of all the abilities. It's managing the collection of all abilities from the list of abilities, but also from the list of iComposite abilities. And so I think here is the proper place to put that relationship info. So let's go ahead and tell the AI to do that, and we'll go ahead and go here. Hello, MyCoonDev. Hello, Brekek. Welcome, welcome. Is that cursor? Yes, indeed. Wait, is this cursor that everyone's talking about? Looks like VS Code with an AI plugin. That's exactly what it is. Basically. I mean, I'm sure it's more sophisticated than that, but it is a fork of VS Code. So yeah. Yeah, that's all it is. Yep, exactly. Collect abilities recursively. Okay, so I think this makes more sense. So now what we're doing here is basically in this base card, we're going to get the parent ability of whatever ability we're on. If the parent is a conditional ability decorator, we're going to check if it can be executed. And if it can't be executed, then we're just going to continue. So we're just going to bypass that ability entirely. And so that's important because the Corvid's echo ability. So if I click here, oh, it's got echo twice. Discard all abilities again. Let's fix that. Okay, so why is that appearing twice, though? I thought I handled that situation. Also, why is that there twice? Oh, you know what? I know why. This conditional... Where is it? Conditional echo. Conditional ability decorator. Yeah, get explanation shouldn't be here. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Boom. So, echo if there are multiple Corvids on the board. So I put this here and I begin. I should only be able to attack once because there's only one Corvid. Perfect. And then when I put 2 on there, now they should both attack twice. Sweet. Cool. All right, so that was quite a lot of work to get all that done, but this is kind of the point, is that I keep coming up with new card abilities like Echo that require certain changes to the code base. And the idea is that as I keep stretching the code base like that, I'm going to keep building up a foundation where it makes it easier to create more and more complex cards and functionality. So yeah, that's kind of the point. But yeah, let's go ahead and... Did I do anything with this iTransient turn state? Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Or no, did I not? iTransient turn state. Yeah, okay. Where is this called? I already forgot. Turn executor component post cooldown tick. Okay. I think that's fine. So, introduce or fix issues with echo ability and conditional execution. All right, so that's done. I love how it lets you hop around the code to add missing bars imports just by spamming tab. Yeah, that's really nice. How can we switch to cursor and not use VS Code with Copilot or Codium? I have a former colleague who is working at a sort of mid-sized, I don't know if you'd call it a startup. I guess it's like a mid-sized tech company, and their entire engineering department is using Cursor. So I figured I'd just give that a shot first. That's about it. You're creating a robust base to handle more cards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and before I go too deep on the game, like before, I'm trying to widen the base a little bit, the foundation a little bit, before I go too far in the game, because as the code gets more mature, it becomes harder to refactor things to support new abilities. That said, I think I pretty much have arrived at a pretty good foundation here. So basically the architecture is just like, there are just a bunch of these really tiny abilities here, and they do narrowly one thing. And if I need complex interactions, then I create things like dynamic magnitude ability, which can modulate the value of an ability by taking a value provider and modifying a magnitude of an I ability magnitude. And so these things all get, these are like building blocks to create more powerful abilities. And then when I want to create logical chunks of abilities together, I create what I'm calling composed abilities. So like this conditional echo, right now it's hard-coded to be working with the Corvid, but there's no reason why I can't provide like constructor arguments in here to specify which type I want to look for and like what the condition ought to be. But this is like a grouping of abilities that make sense together. So this conditional echo is apply the echo ability if a certain condition is met, right? Damage execution growth. This one is, you know, make the damage grow in conjunction with how many times it has been executed, right? Same with like poison. So these are all composed abilities, and the idea is that when I do the alchemy system, these are the abilities that are going to be able to be present on the cards. So alchemy being like you mix the abilities of one card with another. So it's going to be a mixture of composed abilities all ending up on one card. And then I'm going to obviously build out this library of composed abilities. And that's going to basically define all the abilities that are available in game. So I think it's a pretty good structure here. All right, give me 1 second. I need to go get some water real quick. All right, sorry about that. To be honest, I'm having a very hard time working through this headache that I have right now, but I think I might just be hungry. So I got some blueberries. Hope you don't mind if I munch on these a little bit. Okay. Did you make the message highlighter when you bring up a message on stream? No, I did not. This is called, this is an app called Social Stream Ninja. And you can just search Social Stream Ninja. It's just a GitHub project, and you can just connect it to a YouTube video, and it provides like a nice little local server where it listens to all the messages, and then you can implement it as a doc on OBS. It's like a little web page basically, and all I have to do is just click on messages, and it automatically highlights them. You add the app as like a browser source and all that stuff. My biggest issue with personally with Cursor is that they don't have any way to sync your settings to your account. Have they implemented that? I do not know, honestly, because I haven't tried to use my Cursor account on a different device. Okay. So we're going to try something here. I still need to work on the enemy board, the enemy AI placement here. So I actually started writing my own algorithm for this. I was doing simulated annealing a couple streams ago, and that was working pretty good, except the problem is that it was really slow. It was causing like anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of a second, which in game terms is like a very noticeable stutter. So that's not working. So I'm just doing a naive placement here. And this algorithm for the naive placement, basically all it does is it takes all the cards that are desiring to be placed by the enemy, and it basically creates a mapping of like how many cards this iBoard queryable card could wait, is this wrong? I think this is already wrong. Oh wait, cards ordered. Oh, I'm not even using that, I don't think. Yeah. So basically what we're doing is checking every card's abilities for iBoard queryable. And then what it's doing is it's mapping out all of the other cards that the iBoard queryable could affect. So if queryable can potentially affect card, this is just running a very basic like tag filter here. Also, this might be wrong. I'm going to just change this for safety purposes. Queryable.queryoptions.tag-filter. So right now, this can potentially affect card is very basic. I can expand this logic out, but for now, it's just looking at, does the query options have a tag filter? If so, it's checking if the card has that appropriate tag, and then it's returning that. Otherwise, it's returning false. So basically what's happening is that if this queryable can potentially affect a card, then it's adding that to a list that's associated with the queryable. So this dictionary, so this queryable affected we'll call it. So this is the card that contains the queryable ability, and then this is the list of cards that it can affect. So that's basically what's being set up here. Then I just order I order these by the number of cards they can affect, descending. So the first element is going to be the card that affects the most other cards, and then it orders it by area. So if it affects the same number, then it just puts the area ahead of everything. So it's going to place the bigger cards first because they take up the most space. The logic here being that, you know, it's easier to find a place later on for smaller cards than it is to find a place later on in the board for larger cards. So if you put the large cards first, then you can find places for the smaller ones later. And then this is just a print statement. And then this is just trying to place all the cards. So this is the actual card placement logic. I think what's happening is it's just iterating over that ordered keys here. And then it's trying to place the card at a position in a random cell. I have this ordered random cells here, which just orders the valid grid cells randomly. It tries to place the card. If it can't place the card, it just doesn't do anything. But if it does place the card, then it goes through the list of cards that it can affect and then tries to place those cards as neighbors. So this get neighboring cell here. So that's basically, and then for any card that is just kind of like a random card that doesn't really have any effects or doesn't really affect anything, it just tries to find a place for it. And then anything that's left over gets freed. So that's basically the algorithm here. And I think it's actually it's performing pretty well. I can definitely see how it'd be more useful if I just enhance the logic a little bit, but let's go ahead and see. Why is this not working? Oh, I commented it out. That's why. So let's put this back and let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Are you planning to add booster packs to the game? I don't know yet. I don't know. I mean, there will be like opportunities to choose cards for sure, but I don't know about like booster packs for instance. Okay, so this is kind of the result I'm getting. How's the game played in your new card game? You just place your cards on the grid, try to make an optimal layout, and then you just battle it out, you know? There's a bug here that I need to get to as well. So let's see. Okay, so there's actually no synergies there. I'm trying to find, let's see if it gets some synergies going. No synergies. Can you extend a class in C#? Yes. Yeah, inherit. Yep. You can indeed. So for instance, like this is a good example. So this axe, if I look at the output, axe has 4 potentially affected cards: Viper, 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 and Skeleton Warrior. And you can see what it's done is that it's actually just put all of those things around the axe. So this is actually one of the things that I need to enhance, is that it's possible that I could have there could be overlap in these lists, right? So there could be Vipers here and then Vipers at a different card. And the problem is that the Viper just gets placed in accordance with whatever card ends up first, rather than trying to maximize the space so that it tries to place the Viper such that it's a neighbor of both cards, right? And I think that's going to be relatively simple to do logically. I think what I need to do basically is just I think I just need to establish a deeper relationship between the cards. So rather than just like this card affects these cards, I think I need to create more of like a tree structure where I can see, where I can traverse the tree and I can say, okay, this card affects this card, but then this card is also affected by these other cards. And so then I can do more of a tree traversal when I'm trying to place the cards. I think that's the way that I would approach it. But you can see that this axe here affects Viper and Skeleton Warrior, and both those things have been placed beside. I'm trying to find one where those kind of overlaps happen. Okay, so incense here. So here's a good example. So incense has 4 potentially affected cards, and axe has 4 potentially affected cards. And these are the exact same lists, right? Skeleton Warrior, Corvid, Scarab, Skeleton Warrior. And then here as well. The problem, though, is that the incense is not really placed optimally, right? So, I mean, maybe it is. So the axe needs to be adjacent to at least 1 minion. But the incense works adjacent to any or every minion that's adjacent to it. So that's another example of something that I could improve here. So let me see. I mean, what is the way that you... Yeah, so what you could do is you could switch the position of this axe and this skeleton. And then move the scarab down. And then you could place the incense there. So yeah, you can see that the axe has kind of like hoarded all the minions. That's basically the problem here, is that since the axe is first on the list because it has a higher area, it just went ahead and placed all of these things as neighbors to itself in a very sort of greedy fashion, I guess. And now the incense is kind of left to be placed unoptimally. So what we want is, first of all, we need to make the game know that the axe is only looking for one neighbor, which is another layer of complexity that I'm not sure about. But then we need to make the incense like we need to make these share to as much extent as possible. That's basically the goal here. Now, how exactly that would work, I'm actually not sure. I think I'm going the right direction with a tree structure, but I'm not actually sure. I don't know. I'm almost thinking like, I wonder if something that's a little bit, well, let me think. I do think I need to establish some kind of relationship over the shared cards, and then it's just a question of how do you maximize the usage of the shared cards. I definitely want to move away from the fact that the first card that gets to place just places all of these as neighbors. I think this alembic too is a huge problem because it's just got a weird pattern, so I'm gonna need to figure that one out as well. I'm gonna get destroyed by this board. Okay, anyway. One thing I could do is I could one simple thing to do is I could say, okay, these two cards are sharing some elements in common. So what I would do is I could place all the cards that are going to share some cards in common first. So instead of placing the axe and then placing all these minions, I could place the axe and then place the incense as well. Somewhere, maybe within a certain radius of the axe. And that, again, that could just be a random position. And then what I could potentially do is I could find what like the overlap of those areas is. So both of these incense and axe are adjacent, right? So I'd say, okay, get all the positions adjacent to the incense and get all the positions adjacent to the axe, and then find the union or find the intersection of those sets, meaning that we're going to find the cells that both have in common. And then we can try to place the shared cards in those common cells. And again, this is all just trial and error. This is not like we're trying to find the exact right placements. It's like there's going to be some element of randomness. But all I'm saying is like we're going to create that randomness, find the intersecting cells, try to place the shared cards in any intersecting cells. And if there are no more intersecting cells, then we can maybe divvy up the remaining cards randomly. So I think that might be something that's possible to do. So let me think. How would I actually write that in code here? How would I write that in code? I mean, I know how I'd write it. I'm just wondering how I would do it in this case. I could create another dictionary here, var affected to queryable list, something like that. This would be a new, new dictionary. Well, this would have to be a card stats as well. So we establish a reverse relationship here, which is the affected card here will get added to this list. Yeah, I think this is going to be fine. If outvar queryable list is equal to that, I guess. Queryable list dot add card equals queryable list. Okay. So that's going to establish the reverse relationship. Okay, so now we need to figure out if these two cards share something in common. So down in here, ordered keys by area. Yeah, so it's going through all the affected cards here. So this is the block that I need to modify now. Can you simulate the fight quickly between two generated boards? It seems like you might want to be able to do that eventually to auto-balance item stats, but also tame the randomness a bit. Can I simulate the fight quickly? I should be able to, yeah. I mean, I can just run through... I think I can just run through the logic in like a while loop or something and just not play any animations, and then that should be enough to determine which board will... I mean... That might be good for a user too, like if you don't want to sit through all the animations and you just want to resolve the fight immediately, that would be a good effect. So I should be able to do that, yeah. And it shouldn't really be that computationally intensive either. I'm trying to make sure to separate the animations from the logic as much as possible so that I can just run with pure logic if I want to. It's not a simple problem. Complex, impressive how complex it can be, yeah. So in here, what would I actually do in here? So it's going to try to apply, yeah, so this is where I probably need to do the logic of like, this is where I'm thinking like a tree traversal would be better, because this is going to have to end up being recursive. So what's going to happen is it's going to try to place the big card that can affect other cards first, and then it's going to go in here. But first what it needs to do is it needs to see if there are any of the cards in this list are shared by any other big cards. And the easier way to do that would be to do a traversal, like I said. A tree traversal. Yeah, I think a tree traversal might simplify this logic quite a bit, actually. Yeah, because basically in order to figure out if any of these elements are shared, what I would end up doing is I would say, oh, if contains key, so if this card, what am I doing? Contains key. No, this would be something like where x not equal to key. So this key is the card up here. Dot any whatever. So this is where I would say, oh, there's another card somewhere that can also affect this card, and then I'd need to basically hop back up here and try to place that card. So, yeah. I think it would be better to do a tree traversal because then I could say, okay, if I'm on a node in the tree, a card in the tree, I can say, get all of the iBoard queryable that affect this card, and that would just be a tree traversal. And then if there's multiple, or it doesn't even need to be a condition if there's multiple. I can basically just say, get all of the cells that would be optimal to place me at based on how many other cards can affect me. And if that optimal set, let's say there's no valid positions in that optimal set, then I can expand it and say, okay, well, since there's not enough valid positions in the optimal set for me to be placed, then I will just go and try to place myself in a random position. Or you could also introduce some more complex logic where it's like, okay, well, we're going to try to place other cards first, and then we'll revisit this one later. What if only one big card could be affected by an enchanted card? So you have like, it's like incense, for example, is affecting like a big minion or something. Like I said, this is not like an optimal situation, so I'm probably going to introduce some randomness into here as well, where, like, you know, maybe it fudges the order a little bit. So in general, bigger cards get placed first, but there's a potential that won't happen. You know, I'm going to introduce some fudging, but I'm just going to try to do the straightforward algorithm first and see how that pans out, and then we'll see. Because, yeah, there is a problem where it's like, yeah, you have a really small card that affects a really big card. And so if the really small card is being placed later on, there may not be enough room for the big card. So, like I said, there's some fudging that I can do here to, like, so it's not entirely, like, rules-based algorithmic, and there's a little bit of variation, but yeah, we'll have to see. Hello, Aniki. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right, well, unfortunately, I hate to do this, but like I said, this headache that I have, I thought it was going to get better, but it's not. So I'm actually having a really hard time focusing and talking. So I'm actually going to go and rest. So cut the stream short, quite a bit short, actually. So sorry about that, but, you know, these things happen, I guess. But, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the little bit that we did go through today. And I'm sure I'll be better by tomorrow. So we'll do a nice normal long stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Again, check out the links in the description below if you want to support my work. That is greatly appreciated. And what else? Yeah, sorry again, but we'll be back at it tomorrow. And hope you have a good rest of your day, everyone. And I will talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.